Welcome to Carpe Dime, a podcast about personal finance and everyday life. I'm Jamie Davidson.
And I'm Dusty Simmons, and we're from Financial Center First Credit Union. Thanks for spending your free time listening to us talk about how life and family affects us achieving our financial goals. Right. So what are we talking about today, Jamie?
Well, today we're going to talk about cutting the cord.
Ooh, what kind of cord are we talking about? Electrical, phone, please tell me it's not umbilical.
Well, it's kind of close. It's we're talking about cutting that money cord to your grown adult kids.
Ooh, so this could be a hard podcast for either some parents or children to listen to today.
Some uneasy conversations taking place today.
Gotcha.
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites, like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies, like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear liners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you could pay with your HSA, FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
So, how many of you out there are guilty of still paying your grown children's bills?
We're waiting for you all to raise your
hands,
virtual hands there.
I mean, you'd really be surprised how many parents are still paying their children's bills. And it's time to talk about cutting the cord. I mean, we're talking about they're paying cell phone bills, insurance bills, all kinds of bills. And you're going to be amazed when you find out what we're going to talk about here.
Yeah. So at some point, you got to cut the cord, right? And today we're going to talk about when that time is right.
Well, yeah, we want to cut the cord and kick their butts out of the nest, right?
Well, Jamie does.
Get out. Go. Get.
All right. So how we always do, we always start with some facts so that you guys can kind of be aware of why we chose today's topic and where we kind of are. So this is the first one that we found. A report from Merrill Lynch and AgeWave found that parents are spending, and you guys are going to be staggered by this, $500 billion on their grown kids aged 18 to 35. And that's scarily double what they're putting towards their own retirement.
Yeah. How about that for
Yikes.
Some numbers? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yikes. And to put that in perspective about how many people that is, a recent survey by Bankrate.com found that 51% of Americans are sacrificing their retirement savings to free up money for their adult children.
I tell you, folks, I don't know what you're doing out there, but 51% of you, we need to sit down and have a hard conversation, which we're going to have today, a few hard conversations. And I think you had one more fact, didn't you, Dusty?
Yep. And according to the study, 79% of parents are helping their adult children in some financial way. And, that could be anything from helping pay for a wedding, a cell phone bill, paying for groceries, all kinds of different things.
Wow, man, I need to get on board of this. Nobody's buying me anything. I call my parents and say, hey, will you buy me some groceries?
That's kind of interesting because I do kind of think this is a generational thing. Jamie and I are both Gen X, and that's not really something that parents did for kids a generation ago. It's really something that we as Gen Xers are doing for our kids. Not necessarily a bad thing, but there is a time to say enough's enough.
That's correct.
Right.
And so we're going to start out today. We're going to talk about 8 items that parents continue to pay for way too long for their children.
Okay.
So you ready? What is number 1, Dusty?
Monthly cell phone bill. And, honestly, I can see why this one happens because, these cell phone companies have figured out a great marketing strategy. And as a good marketer, I can appreciate this.
Right. Add that extra line and we'll only charge you an extra dime. Not really a dime, but you know what I'm saying.
I mean, and I have a 14-year-old and that's where we've started, right? That's how they get you.
Yeah, it's cheaper if you just add a line.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, don't do it. It's time to cut it.
Don't do it. Well, do it. But then when they hit a certain age, decide that it's time to cut them off.
Right. Yeah, no, it's time to have the conversation. And I get it when they're in high school and even when they're in college but we finally get to that point where it's time to have the conversation, because if you've got more than one kid, that's an extra 20 here, an extra 20 there. With me, I have 3 kids. That'll be an extra 60 a month. I got I can do something with that $60.
Right.
So we're going to have that conversation.
So our producer, Courtney, had a great idea that she's worked out with her parents. Even though it's only $10 a month to have her on their plan, she's being responsible and she's paying a third of the bill to help out. So that's a great compromise, actually.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I'm going to start doing that with mine.
There you go. All right, number 2.
Auto insurance. Oh, we all hear the adage, you got to keep your kids on your insurance because their rates are going to go too high if you don't. The magic number there is usually 21, especially for boys. Their rates are very high until they at least hit 21.
Okay.
Actually, for boys, it's 25.
That's what I thought. 25.
We also know this, though. When they get married, their rates go down. So I'm going to give you the drop dead. The drop dead is this.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
What makes a life a good one? Is it the adventure you have? Or the friends you find along the way? Maybe it's pursuing your passion while striving to protect, defend, and save what you believe in every single day. So what makes a life a good one? In the Coast Guard, we think it's all of the above and more. But you'll have to find out for yourself. Visit gocoastguard.com to learn more.
If your grown adult children are married to somebody else,
They should not be on your insurance.
they should no longer be on your insurance. Okay, so if your adult children's insurance is still on your insurance policy, but they're married, it's probably time to cut that off.
Okay.
Can we agree to that?
I agree on that
Okay,
one. Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Number 3, health insurance. And again, health insurance is something that's expensive. As a child, you can stay on your parents' health insurance till you're 26. So I see there's a lot of benefit depending on where you are in starting out in your career to maybe stay on your parents' insurance. But you should always compare.
Right.
And you should know.
I think the thing we need to remember is this. If I'm an adult on a policy and I'm with a spouse, that's one price. But when you add the children, it's an extra price. So if I get to the point where my children are grown and they're out of the house, but they're not 26 yet, by dropping them from our insurance, we're going to save a couple $100 a month at least.
Yeah.
So if I'm working on my budget, that might have to be the answer. Now, that's not always the answer. Maybe the answer is if they don't have insurance available, maybe they supplement that with, paying you a monthly,
Right.
the $100 or however much it is to do that. So it's not like we're trying to be mean and say, take your kids off your insurance here. We're saying really look at it. We just saw symptoms are they can be on there until 26. They should be on there until they're 26.
Well,
that's expensive.
And to really think about if they were off of that plan, what could you be using that other money for? And as we all age and, start thinking closer about retirement, that could be retirement savings to be socking away.
Or I could be playing golf one more time a week.
There you go. It's all about wellness.
Wellness. Number 4, subscription accounts. And we know you're all guilty of it out there. All of us are guilty of it. We all get our subscription accounts and then we share the password. What do you think about that?
Well, I think ultimately, once again, it creates budget issues for someone a child who may start living beyond their means because they're not budgeting for any of these day-to-day household items that if their parents weren't paying, they would have to pay for.
Right, especially if you're looking at 3 or 4 subscription services. It's 10 here, 15 there, another 20 there. Before you know it, they're looking at they'd be spending an extra $35, $40 a month on subscription services. Then you throw in their auto insurance, which is going to be $200 a month. And then you throw in their health insurance, which is probably going to be $300 a month. We're looking at, $600 where it doesn't seem like it's a lot of money because it's a little bit here, a little bit there. But think about that. As a parent, that's what I'm paying. And, the subscription service is one of those really small things you think of.
But everything adds up.
Everything adds up.
And you're teaching your children to live beyond their means for the rest of their life.
Right.
So bad habits here. Yeah. Okay, number 5. auto loans. And we talked about this one last week, actually, as a part of our other podcast, but co-signing for an auto loan, but not just doing the co-sign, but assuming payment for the bill.
Right. Because we know if we do co-sign, we are held accountable for that payment. And if we don't,
it hurts our credit.
It can hurt our credit. So here's how this works. A young person in their early 20s goes out and applies for an auto loan. If they can't get the loan by themselves, a lot of times parents will co-sign on that. And
Nothing
that's okay.
wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Once your child's credit is to the point where they can get that loan in their own name, that's when it's time to say, we're going to go put this in your own name. Now, I'm sorry, some people out there are not going to be happy about this, but if your child's in their late 20s and you're still having to co-sign, that means they've been doing something wrong with their credit and you're just enabling them. You shouldn't be co-signing on your 27, 28-year-old's car because they don't have the credit. Mm-hmm. That's something there that you need to look at and figure out what you've done wrong and figure out some way around that. Come up with some sort of goals how to take care of this problem.
And I asked this question because I truly didn't know the answer, and I should, because I work for a credit union. But if you have co-signed and you decide that you're at this point and you want to get off of the loan, you actually do have to have your child refinance the loan. So, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because sometimes they can get a better deal.
Right.
So that's the step to take.
And well, not only that, it's going to help. It's going to help with their credit score. It's going to help raise their credit score over time because they're taking the steps to do that. They're no longer dependent on what you do as well.
Right. Number 6. Ooh, this one I actually can't believe, but credit card bills.
Credit card bills, yes. There are some parents out there that went and got their child a credit card right before they went away to college or they went out away to life and said, okay, you can use this credit card. And there's some really nice parents that just paid the bills all throughout college. And they're still paying that bill every month when it comes in because it's in both their names. Look, there's no need for you to be on your grown adult child's credit card. There's no need for that. Yeah. So it's time to get off there. So you either have to have yourself removed as a user, or if you're a joint on the card, the actual account will have to be closed. And I know you close the account, it's going to affect the credit score. I understand that, but it's not going to affect it that much. It can be rebuilt.
And it's short term.
We really do know people, and we were talking to Courtney earlier. She has a friend whose parents paid her credit card bill forever and still are. And this young lady's in her mid-20s now. We're really setting them up for failure in life because one day you're not going to be there to take care of that.
Right.
Oh, there's a big one, Dusty. Number 7. Tell us about number 7.
Oh, rent or mortgage.
If your grown child moved out on their own and got an apartment or got a house, we should have sat down and done the budget beforehand. If you are paying that rent or that mortgage,
or supplementing
your mortgage, something's going wrong here. Mm-hmm. This is a lot deeper than just cutting the cord. This is really a much longer conversation as to why you both did this.
Bad decisions
on both parties. Yes, because if the young person could not afford the rent on the house or the mortgage on the house, then it never should have been put in their name.
Right. Now, this is a little bit different if your kid is going through a temporary, situation where maybe they've lost their job or due to the economy, something's happened and you decide to help out for a little while. But make sure you've set that expectation of how long you're willing to help and at what level. Because again, this is affecting your ability for you to pay your own bills and work on long-term savings.
Well, this sort of goes back to our last podcast as well. It becomes a crutch. I know a particular person for the last 20 years, whenever they're 3 months behind on the rent, there's a phone call to somebody in the family to help out with that. And that person knows deep down that if they get that far behind, that other person's going to bail them out. Mm-hmm. So the person I'm talking about is now in my age and still going to grown adults for crutches. To take care of things, and it's not fair. It's really not. And it's what it did the first time they did this, because there was an emergency, it created that process of, oh, anytime something goes wrong, I can go back to this place and get this taken care of.
And they're going to ask for nothing in return.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
So, okay. And then number 8, and I know we have a little bit different opinion on this, but college loans.
College loans, yes. So here's my thoughts on college loans, and then Dusty can tell you hers. I believe, so some of us as parents have to co-sign on college loans, depending on how much the college loan is. This has to be a discussion with your children before you do this, what the expectation is. In our household, any co-signing that I've done will be transferred over to them when they graduate. Within 6 months of graduation, they will take control of their college loans.
Yeah.
So that is the expectation. Now, I've been paying on one of them every month because I wanted to help out that way. But the expectation is college is your responsibility. I provide you with room and board, and you get to enjoy your Starbucks, but not while I'm paying college. Not just, me paying college loans doesn't make it so you can go get used to getting Starbucks every day.
Right.
So with my children, I've got an amount that I will pay for, and if I have to take a loan for it, I'll do that. But everything after that is their responsibility.
Yeah, no, I actually think we are on the same page, because my whole thing was have the conversation beforehand, let them know what you're going to pay for and what you're not. But on the flip side of that, when you find out, or if you find out your kid's behind on college loans, that's a bad habit to say, I'm going to take those over for you, or you're never going to get rid of them.
Right. And, the other thing we have to talk about, we're going to talk about this here in a minute, is actually the steps of doing these things.
Yeah.
So many young people go through college and they don't really see those loans. Or they see them, but they don't really pay much attention to them. You don't really start paying on them until 6 months after you graduate. What I would recommend you do when it comes to college loans is you actually review them every year together as a parent and say, this is how much you've accumulated so far. When you get out, 6 months after you get out, they're going to expect you to pay X amount of dollars, because you're really setting them up for failure if they don't realize that.
And I know you do that with your daughters. I think that's a really responsible and good conversation to have, because they know what they're getting themselves into as well.
Yeah, I hope they do. I think they do. Mm-hmm. If not, I guess they'll find out the hard way.
Okay, so now we've talked about the things that parents typically do help pay for. And, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, this is me, and I'm ready to start taking some of those steps to get out of this.
You're out there. Give us a call.
We're going to give you some tips here to help you have that conversation and move on to the next phase of relationship.
Yeah, so we want to
adult to adult.
Right. Yes, so we can respect each other as adults.
Right.
We're no longer the parent over the child and vice versa. So we're going to talk about how to help your child become financially responsible and how to have that conversation. So the key here, and we talk about this all the time, but it's really about starting at a young age and creating good saving habits, good spending habits, knowing the difference between wants and needs. Mm-hmm. A lot of times what happens is we don't talk about this at all. The next thing you know, our young child is now 18 or 21 or 25, and we've been paying for everything. And now you want to have the conversation. For them, they feel like you're just pulling the rug out from underneath them.
Right.
So we came up with a 5-step plan of what we want to discuss about this.
And knowing that it doesn't all have to happen right away. It is a process, right?
It is a process. It really is. And that is really important. I would joke and say, no, do it now, kick them out. No, that's not really the way to do things. If you want to have a good relationship with your grown adult child where you guys can be equals and enjoy each other, this has to take place, and it has to be a process.
Well, so unfortunately, we don't always have, as parents to children, the best conversations and open conversations about money. But step number 1 really comes back to that idea of sitting down and having the conversation about how you giving them money and helping them out has been wonderful, but that is how it's hindering you from being able to accomplish your goals and maybe what you and your spouse want to do.
Right. Yeah. You're talking about your goals of retirement, what you want to do. Not only that, though, you're creating people that are going to be dependent on you forever, and you're not going to be around forever. So really,
or it might actually come to the point where you need their help.
You need their help.
And if you've been supporting them their whole life, they're not going to understand that at some point.
We want to sit down with them and talk about this because we want them to be a successful adult.
Right.
Let me re-say that. We want them to be a successful adult. So
step 1, have the conversation.
Sit down. We're going to have a conversation, son.
Okay. Step 2, make a plan.
Yeah, you need to create a plan.
My favorite thing.
Create a plan. Planning. So what's important about a plan is this. You're doing it together.
Okay.
If you're coming,
don't come with the plan.
No, don't come with the plan and say, this is how it's going to go. That's not going to go over very well. You need to sit down together to create a plan. You need to come up with some goals. You need to look at how to budget, start talking about budgeting and looking at a budget. So we're seeing where the money's going,
right.
How much we have coming in.
Use a budget worksheet.
Yes.
If you need one, email Jamie.
Email me, right. And then, you also you want to talk to them about their future, why this is important to their future for them to be successful, financially successful. Not only that, as an adult too, because it could be embarrassing if mom and dad, you're trying to take somebody out on a date and you got to get money from mom and dad. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to have to do that.
Right.
So we're going to sit down and we're going to create that plan together. Make sure there's input from everybody that's involved. And this is important too. If you're in a relationship with an ex-spouse or a spouse, we all got to be involved in this, because if it's just one and the child and the other one's not involved, You're going to see some leakage issues there. You're going to see some, maybe a little pushback.
Yep.
Okay.
So separated or divorced parents, you need to get on the same page. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we've discussed that in the past, and holidays are the same way. It's the same way now when we get to this. You know, if dad's paying for everything and mom's saying, I'm not paying for anything anymore, mom's the bad guy.
Right.
Or you don't want that.
And dad becomes the sucker, potentially.
Well, he's the sucker if that's what he's doing. Yeah.
Okay. So step 3, don't expect this to all happen at once.
Right.
You need in your discussion, in your plan, is to create a timeline.
Yes, you need to set a timeline of when things are going to happen. And you want to start with small steps. You want to take small steps.
Don't start with the big things first.
Don't just cut them. Say, you're cut. I'm cutting you off.
X date, you're off. Yeah.
You're going to create small steps towards that independence.
So maybe that subscription service or the phone bill comes first. And then insurance or health insurance comes second.
Right. And then eventually all the other things. So maybe it is, okay, within 3 months, you're going to be off of our cell phone plan.
Or you're going to start paying us a third.
You're going to start paying us a third or a fourth,
Right.
or however big your family is.
Right.
And that needs to be done by then. And you come back and check on that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just say it and not check back. Because the answer will be, oh, I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to make sure you're both conscientious about this and continue to do that. Have the conversation. So I know we talked about 6 months from now, you were going to switch to your own insurance company. You got insurance quotes yet? If you haven't, here I'd recommend you call this person and see if they can get you quotes.
Right.
You don't always assume you're going to get the best insurance rates from your parents' insurance company. Just because they've been with it for 30 years, they're not going to give you a break on that. So make sure you're doing that, having those conversations.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. So that's 3. 4, remove yourself from all credit and deposit accounts. And I think this is probably going to be one of the hardest steps for people.
This is going to be the hard one right here. So you have to remove yourself from their bank account. You have to remove them.
Stop checking their balances
Yes.
and making sure they're not overdrafting.
So this is a true story. So I'm on my children's. My wife and I are on my children's, and I'll check my 20-year-olds, and she'll get very frustrated. She'll go tell her mom, well, he just keeps checking my balance. I should just get my own bank account. And then, of course, that comes back to me. And my answer is, I'm fine with that. If that's
Right.
what you want, you should do that. You know, for her, it's a threat. I'm going to take you off my bank account. And I'm going, let's go.
ahead.
Let's do it right now, you know. But if you screw up, don't come back, you know.
and
whining.
ask me to fix it.
So, yeah, and there's so many parents that, you know, you're on your children's account. Your children are on your accounts. You know, it's time to take the training wheels off. And, you know, if we're in our 20s now, guys, we need to have our own bank accounts. We don't need mommy and daddy on our bank accounts. Hey, if we're in our 20s now, we don't need mommy and daddy to pay our credit card bill. We don't need mommy. I mean, you really don't. And you're going to feel so much better in the long run when you do. You're going to feel more independent. You're going to feel focused. You're actually going to have a different relationship with your parents. You're going to the point where you become almost peers or equals, and you can have, you know, you don't feel like you're the little child anymore. And I am a 50-year-old man, and I still have my parents, and there's times when I still feel like the child on certain things, you know, and you don't
Right.
want to feel that
And
way.
financial independence really gives you the authority to say, look, we don't have that relationship anymore. If they're holding something financially over your head, there's always that a little bit of maybe some guilt or whatever to, you know, well, I am asking you to do this, but don't forget I pay for
Right,
this. So, you know, if you take those obstacles out of the way, you're equals.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
Step 5.
Okay, review your plans and goals and celebrate success.
Yeah, this is a fluent process. Nobody expects it to be done perfect overnight. Sit back and review these plans together, review the goals and the time, and celebrate the successes. Go, wow, really a great job. It's okay to tell your 25-year-old you're really proud of them becoming successfully independent. We get to that point in our lives where when they're children, we say everything we love about them, and then we go through the teen phase where they're embarrassed of us. And then we sort of get in that phase in our 20s where like we want to sort of be able to have the good conversations we had when they were little, but nobody knows how to really have that anymore because we went through that teen phase. And it could really be that phase here where you could, go, I'm really proud of you as an adult. And they could say, well, mom or dad, I love you. And, you know, let's go out and let's go on vacation together, you know, not being because you're going to pay the vacation, but because they want to go on vacation with you.
I mean, and that's actually a really good point of, you know, parents can love their kids in lots of different ways. And as parents get older, one of the best things they can do is surprise their kids or their grandkids with little things like that. I mean, my dad's taken us on vacation before, and it's such a blessing for him to be able to do that, which we would never ask. But that's because at some point he cut us off and we became financially independent and he was able to save money to do other things.
Right. And now
So those are rewards that he's able to give back to us, you know, because he wants to, not because he has to help us
And
live.
the great thing about that is when he does that with you, he really enjoys himself.
Exactly.
Whereas opposed to he's stressed
obligated
out because of the money. He's doing it because that's a real vacation for him, a real joy.
Right.
And that's really important. That's really important to give to your children. That financial independence. And believe me, had it when I was a kid, conversation didn't go real well. Felt like, I'm being abandoned here. It took me years to get back and realize what they did for the right reasons. It's just the way they told me that wasn't probably the best option.
Right.
But that was different back then. The 80s were different. You didn't really have a conversation. It was just sort of like done. It's different today. It's best to have that conversation with your children and say, hey, I'm not doing this because I don't love you.
Right.
I'm just because I do love you and I want you to be successful and I want us to be happy together. So
I love that. Okay. So remember, we are doing this as parents to create successful adults. Many times we enable bad habits because we don't want our children to suffer. By helping your children to be independent, it's important to realize doesn't mean they're no longer your children. They're your successful grown children, which is even better. So if you are in this situation and you're sitting here saying this podcast is for me, take some initiative. Maybe it's time to cut the cord. At least start the conversation.
It's time.
Right.
Cut the cord, kick the butts out. Just kidding.
But do it in a nice way.
Do it in a nice way. Do it in a dusty way, not a Jamie way. So thank you for listening again today. We love it when you guys listen to us. Remember, we're just parents trying to figure this out on our own. We have a little bit of experience in this with financial literacy and just wanted to pass on a few notes to you guys. So thanks for listening today.
Carpe Dime is presented by Financial Center First Credit Union. It's produced by Jamie, myself, and Courtney Cooper. Financial Center is a 6-time national award winner in the category of adult financial literacy, and our goal is to help you improve your financial life. To learn more, visit fcfcu.com. And if you like what you hear, subscribe to our podcast from Google, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify.
Hi, my name's Courtney. Usually I'm behind the scenes of Carpe Dime editing episodes that you're listening to right now. But today I'm in front of the microphone to ask you a favor. If you're listening from iTunes or Google, we'd love if you could leave us a review and let us know what you think. And if you're listening to Spotify, give us a follow so you can get more episodes like this every other week. Thanks for listening.